chair now recognizes the gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Hill, who is also chairman of the full Committee on Financial Services, to be recognized for 5 minutes. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for our panel for being here. Thanks for bringing your expertise to the committee. And I thought I'll start out and I'll take the bait on talking about Fed independence. I've got good panelists and I've got great members to do that with here. Of course, the Fed wasn't, when you think about monetary policy, was not always independent. It wasn't designed as independent in 1913. It wanted to have a bank regulatory system after 1907. It wanted to have an elastic currency for the Omaha and prairie populists to get some money from New York spread around in a good way. And, I think it worked pretty well. And why did we not have worried about independent monetary policy in the 1920s, 1930s? Why? Because we were on the gold standard. We didn't have to worry about fiat money setting until the Depression hit. But through the 30s and through the 1940s, the Treasury Secretary and the Office of Comptroller of the Currency, they were on the board of the Fed, fully integrated into that, as I say, financial supervisory structure. And only in the Truman administration did we have this modern post-war independence of the Fed from a monetary policy point of view, as we're now no longer on the gold standard, and we want to try to have price stability in a post-World War II, very inflationary economy. And, we've kind of lived with that ever since. I'd also argue in the 1970s, after 30 years of bashing and banging around, Hubert Humphrey, trying to modify the Employment Act of 1946, wanted to get Soviet-style central planning into government. He argued for it for 6 years. I want 5-year Soviet planning type planning where we have employment goals and inflation goals, and we want the federal government and the Fed to work hand in glove to plan the American economy. Congress thought that was kind of wacko, but he died. And so Muriel Humphrey had the power of widowship, and they passed the 1976 and 1977 Acts, Humphrey, Hawkins, and this Fed so-called dual mandate, which is really not a dual mandate. Actually, in the statute, it's a triple mandate. By statute, the Fed has a triple mandate: price stability, maximum employment, and moderate long-term interest rates. And I think the 10 years I've been in Congress, we've been told the Fed has a whole bunch of other mandates, as referenced here today. So let me start with you, Mr. Pollack. You've been involved in the Fed business a long, long time. Are there other Fed mandates besides those three?
Mr. Chairman, certainly there are. In my testimony, I spell out 8. Of course, the original one, the elastic currency, which they carry out with great energy and in a crisis is handy. The central mandate of all central banks is to finance the government of which they are a part, which the Fed also does. They now own $4 trillion of United States Treasury debt. And there is, of course, the regulatory or financial stability mandates, and the idea that they should make money by exercising the seigniorage of the government with respect to money. On the financing the government, this is really important because it explains why the Fed should not take monetary orders from the president, but from the Congress instead, in my opinion. William McChesney Martin explained this very clearly one day. He said, well, I paraphrase, but what he said was, the Treasury is the borrower, the Fed is the lender. You can't have the lender be the boss of the borrower. That's fundamentally unsound, and I think he was right about that.
Thank you.
But the Congress has a plenary authority, and and I think your history was exactly right, Mr. Chairman, that you went through in the
Thank you,
theory
Dr.
of
Pollack.
the
Let me cut you off just because of my time. We could talk all day, the two of us, on this subject.
Yes, we could. I'm sorry.
And I agree generally with your thought, and I agree that Congress is the overseer of the Fed, and the monetary policy should be independent, as described here. I do. But I believe price stability is the most important issue, and I want to turn to you, Dr. Holtz-Eakin. I think it's, no matter how many mandates, not only is it first among equals, but it's the only one they can actually do something about.
Yes.
Bingo. So tell me, maximum point, how could you even do that? That's the fiscal responsibility of the states, the taxing power of the Congress. You're the former CBO director. It's too hard, isn't it?
Yes, we know where inflation comes from. It comes from the monetary policy, and they can control inflation. And because they can do that, they even set a target for it. He might not like it, but they did.
Please expand on that.
There's no target for employment because they can't control.
Right, and
employment
that's what the
outcomes.
decision was in the 70s. I yield back, but I hope both of you will extend your remarks and answer my questions. Thank you. Yield back.